Good morning, students. Welcome to the third lecture of our essay by Ashish Kothari and Basu Taneja, The Many and the None. So, in our previous lecture, we had seen that the author they were comparing the planet Earth with a floating ship, and it is biodiversity which is keeping the ship of our planet floating. That is the contention of our authors. So, beside that, they also talk about how gradually we are losing the various plant species as well as animal species. The biodiversity of our earth has been harmed to a great extent, and all because we have actually forgotten that we are a part of nature, and diversity is something that is natural and that is very much a part and parcel of our life on earth. We have somewhere or the other forgotten that it is the variety which is the building block of life and which also serves as a continuous evolution. Okay, if there was no diversity, then we won't have been able to survive on this earth after so many years. After so many years of environmental changes, it is after all the genes in our body which has been able to resist the environmental changes or genetic decay. But since we are trying to doctor so much, we are trying to actually uh, use biotechnology to increase the size of the vegetables or the fruits. We are losing biodiversity gradually, and it is a great harm to the biodiverse life, that is the biodiverse, or whom we call the ecosystem people. These people who are comprised of small farmers, fisher folk, herders, and hunter gatherers, they are greatly dependent on the diversity of species that is available in the various ecosystem for their livelihood. And any harm to biodiversity is a direct attack on their survival. So for these people, the ship is already sinking. So we have to be very cautious about stopping this fall in biodiversity and finding out the reasons why actually biodiversity is losing, and take major steps so that it can be stopped. So today we will see what the author further, rather the authors, have to say regarding preserving biodiversity as such. It is important to note here that the presence of just any species functioning as a resource is not adequate. So, just one species is not enough, they say. It is the diversity of species, of animals and plants, and even microorganisms that is valuable to rural communities. Diversity of different kind in plants, animals, and plant forms, it is essential. You need different kind of trees, you need different kind of fruits, you need different kind of flowers, so that there is diversity, and diversity is integral to the ecosystem as such. Just one species is not enough. Suppose we have only banyan tree, or say only banana tree, that is not going to serve all our purpose. We are human beings, and human beings are greatly dependent on nature for their survival. For everything that we have, we are totally dependent on the existence of these biodiverse species. As such, the authors comment so. As Jagat Singh Chaudhary of Kumaon Himalaya region, it's we are talking about that region which falls in Uttarakhand. Okay, the Kumaon region of Himalayas. So the Jagat Singh Chaudhary, a person belonging to that region, one of the many thousands of ecosystem people. Now, this Jagat Singh Chaudhary is a representative of ecosystem people. That means he is one of those persons who is directly dependent on the existence of biodiversity in ecosystem. And he explains there should be every kind of tree in the forest. There should be fodder trees, fuel wood trees, and those which keep the soil moist. Bunch, kafai, ayar, buras will keep our soil humid, and their leaves will make humus that will have organic diversity. So these plants, these trees like bunch, kafai, ayar and buras, they will keep the humidity or moisture of the soil intact because they are very dense and thick trees. Okay, so they will maintain the water retention in the soil, which is very essential for fertility. Secondly, the leaves that fall from these trees, they will prepare humus. Again, I suppose you understand what is humus, the decayed leaf. Okay, that is called humus. The leaf that is being decayed through the microorganisms, which is again important ingredient of fertility, something that adds to the fertility of the soil. So this will make humus that will have organic diversity. Again, the entire, actually these trees, they facilitate organic diversity in a forest system, which is very essential for again biodiversity, right? There should be fruit trees also, and trees which will supply wood for building purposes. And the most important trees are those which will keep the environment clean, broad leafed ones. So you can see what are the reasons he is talking about, what is the, or why they need diverse plants or diverse trees. He was talking about that there are certain trees which add to the humidity and fertility of the soil. Secondly, fruit trees and fuel trees, or wood trees, trees which give them wood that can be utilized by human beings or man or people. And there are certain trees which keep the environment clean, especially those trees with broad leaves, right? So leaves have its own individual purpose. Secondly, the rest are for industry. Rambas, he's talking about different categories of other commercially useful plants or commercially useful trees, such as rambas. Okay, then he's talking about bass, ringle and grass and creepers other than these. So different categories of plants are actually available in the Uttarakhand region, the Kumaon Himalaya region. Rambas, agave, it's also called agave, and it's used for making tequila, a special kind of liquor, and it's also used for making various other medicinal medicines, or you can say drug, right? So this is one thing. Then secondly, you have the bars or the bamboo, from which is very important in making huts and houses, and nowadays it's also used for making various other useful products, even bottles. Okay, eco-friendly bottles are being made out of bamboo, so bamboo is also commercially important. Okay, then you have the ringle bamboo, which you can see the ladies are at work making baskets and other utility materials from the product. Okay, bamboo, ringle, it's called ringle, it's also a variety of bamboo. And then you have different types of grass. Uttarakhand is known for its lush green grasslands, and you find a variety of grass. Okay, it's diverse forms of grass is available over there. So all these grass forms or different kinds of grass, it's used for different other reasons. These are all these they are actually very commercially or economically beneficial trees and plants for the people, and their most of their livelihoods depend on the availability of these trees. That is why Jagat Singh Chaudhary was saying that there is a need for different kinds of plants in their region. They need fuel trees, they need wood trees, they need fruit trees, they need commercially important trees as well. Okay, then they need creepers, which because they are people who also depend on cattle. Okay, they keep cattle, and their livestock is there. So for the livestock as well as for the cattle, they need fodder, and the creepers that is available in these forests of Uttarakhand, it serves as an important fodder means food for the cattle. Okay, so you see, there all the various purposes, all their various needs, they are being fulfilled by the forest, which are filled with variety of biodiverse trees and plants. All right, so this is what Jagat Singh Chaudhary was talking about. Now he says that creepers are the main resources for fodder. So as I have shown you in the picture, there are various creepers which serve as fodder for the cattle. What elders say is that earlier there were dense forests. So he was talking of a time when the entire Himalayan region or the entire Uttarakhand region, it was filled with dense thick forest. But now dense forest, and there were many species in them. Okay, these forests, they were filled with variety of different species of plants, trees, fruits and flowers, but now it is all gone. So he says that but now in the monoculture pine forest there is no diversity. Nowadays people are focusing more on money, more on uh, you know economically beneficial plants or trees. So they are only talking about their huge hectares of land, agricultural land, they are being cultivated with pine trees, because pine tree, the wood, it serves as a very costly building material. Okay, so that is why pine is cultivated, and since the hilly regions, they are good for the growth of such kind of trees. Monoculture, what is the meaning of monoculture? Monoculture is where a form of agriculture where just one kind or one type of plant species is being cultivated. So monoculture of pine means a place or an agricultural plot where just pines are being cultivated. So he is saying that nowadays diversity in the Kumaon region, it is lost. Why? Because people are mainly focusing on monoculture of pine, right? So there cannot be any diversity. And he puts up a very, very important question, that if trees, herbs, uh, grass, creepers, etc., all grow, then won't there be economic development? Very, very important question. He's saying that monoculture of pine is all right. You should have that. Economically beneficial plants are necessary for the development of a country. But then, if we also have together the other species of plants such as grass, herbs and creepers, will there be no economic development? Will the economic development be stopped? Whereas we have already seen that how the variety of trees or variety of plants, they serve different purposes. So Jagat Singh Chaudhary is here questioning the concept that monoculture can be an a better option or a better alternative for economic development, which he thinks is not. Okay, we can have economic development, but not at the cost of harming biodiversity. Okay, so this is what he says or tries to explain, that there should be economic development, all right, but then all these biodiverse plant species which serve different functions and utilities of human being, they should always be there. Okay. Biological diverse farming systems are indeed the future of India's agriculture. Not just the high-tech biotechnology that agricultural scientists and corporations are trying to entice us towards. There has been made several attempts on the part of biotechnological scientists or agricultural scientists who are trying to entice us, that means most especially the farmers, people of India, or Indian farmers rather. So they are trying to attract the farmers, Indian farmers, towards utilizing high-tech biotechnology in agriculture. Okay, but then the others, they feel that not only high-tech biotechnology, India's development can also be boosted up by biological diverse farming systems. So what they see as the future of India's agriculture, because we have the climate, we have the soil variety, we have different kind of medicinally or economically or commercially important plants and trees. So why not economic development? But then instead of simply depending on high-tech biotechnology, we should also look forward towards biological diverse farming system. We can have different plant species production or cultivation of multi crops in just one single plot of land. Okay, as you can see in these pictures, different crops are being grown, different kinds of plants and vegetables are being grown in the same plot of land in a strategic manner. So this is what is called biodiverse farming. Okay, or there is another word for it, it's called organic farming, right? So organic farming, there are different benefits of organic farming. Here you don't have to use fertilizers or chemicals. That helps in keeping or maintaining the natural soil fertility. It doesn't damage or destroy the useful bacteria or microorganism that is very essential for plant growth. Okay, at the same time, soil loss is reduced, and organic farming also have different kind of alternative forms, just like for example, crop rotation. In the same plot of land, depending on the season, you can cultivate different kind of crops. You can rotate, that means rabi and kharif crops, for example, winter crops and summer crops. So the same plot of land you can use for cultivating different, the land doesn't have to stay barren for the remaining part. For example, you must have noticed that in Assam, just after the completion of paddy cultivation, when the harvest is done, people sow mustard. Okay, so mustard and rice, these are two alternatives which are being rotated, or the crop rotation is being conducted in the Assamese farms. So this is just one example. There are many other alternatives, right? Farmers and other ecosystem communities are also challenging the rampant biopiracy that we face, in which the age-old knowledge regarding turmeric, neem and many other elements of biodiversity have been patented in an attempt to make it the exclusive domain of corporate interest. Now, it is not only high-tech biotechnology that Indian farmers are fighting, or the traditional people are fighting, but also there is another threat to Indian agriculture or Indian biodiversity. And what is that? It is biopiracy. Now, what is biopiracy? See, India is a land where you have different kinds of useful herbal or medicinal plants and products. You have neem, you have tulsi, you have turmeric, you have chandan. Okay, all these are not only important in medicines but also economically valuable. Now, we have been practicing on these naturally available products. We have been using these things as medicines since a very long time, since the time of Rishi Munis, okay? During the time of sages, from that time, primitive time onwards, we have been, and we have mastered the art of mixing up herbs and creating a medicine out of it. But then what is happening is that, you see, uh, you know corporate companies which are simply business oriented or money oriented, what they are doing, they are stealing our knowledge over those traditional, medicinally beneficial crops, and they are making patents. They are stealing the knowledge and they are utilizing that knowledge to make their own profit. So we have in market today, you can see tulsi, or you can see that neem soap that is easily available, the neem shampoo that is easily available, the haldi or the turmeric cream that is easily available. How they are doing that? Because they have made patents of this. They have that formula, that has been stolen from our indigenous people, the people who have actually been responsible for making that product. That very thing has been stolen. That formula has been stolen from these local people, indigenous people, the traditional people who know this knowledge, and that has been utilized by the company to manufacture their own products. And the profit that comes, that goes directly to the pocket of these company people, not to the people who are actually responsible for that age old knowledge. Okay, so this is what is meant by biopiracy. When you steal, okay, biopiracy, as you can see here, it is defined as the illegal appropriation of life, microorganisms, plants, and animals, including humans, and the traditional knowledge that accompanies it. And it is mostly the MNCs or multinational companies who are corporate based. These are the companies that would be stealing them and making patents in order to make their own corporate gains. Okay, and in return, the traditional people, the people who are responsible for this knowledge, they are not at all benefited. Instead, they are harmed, because since it is easily available in the market, who will go to these people for that knowledge, for that product? No one, right? So this is how biopiracy is harming India's indigenous people, right? Our country has benefited from commercialization and globalization. It is true. Commercialization and globalization are two very interrelated process. Commercialization, definitely it means the fast industrialization and that global economic market that has been formulated due to that, right? But they also have had their adverse effect. Adverse means bad or negative effects on the lives of people living in and dependent on biodiverse area. Now, who are these people living in and dependent on biodiverse area? These are the ecosystem people. And there is no doubt, the authors are saying, they're admitting that yes, our country, our nation, we have been able to move ahead, hand in hand with other developed nations due to these processes called commercialization and globalization. There is no doubt. But the indigenous people, they are greatly harmed. How they are harmed? You see, whatever benefits the country gains cannot be at the cost of sustenance of such people who form the majority of the country. These concepts like biodiversity, biopiracy, these concepts like utilization of high-tech biotechnology, these are greatly harming the traditional ways of the people. Okay, when instead of going into the, or you are culturing a, you are raising a fish tank, natural fish tank or a pond, and you are depending, or you are fishing there, you are collecting fish from that pond and you are selling it in the market. That's a very traditional way of life. But then what is the other alternative? Nowadays we can see people are keeping fish tanks, they're raising fish, okay, and these fish are being fed, or they are injected with certain drugs, certain medicines, so that they can, certain hormones, so that they can grow immediately or within a few days, say, right? So these, the fish that is cultivated that way, it is not only harmful to our health, but that is also harming the livelihood of the thousands of fishermen who are dependent on natural water resources. The fishermen that fish in the different water resources such as lakes, ponds, rivers, sea also. Okay, so that is what the authors are saying, that we are being benefited, all right, but that benefit cannot be at the cost of the loss of livelihoods of these section of people who belong to the biodiverse areas, whose lives are interrelated, intertwined with the availability of resources in ecosystems. Okay, so this is what they are saying. It is only an enlightened public with a greater awareness about these problems who can voice their concerns. We need to strike a balance between economic development and conservation of biodiverse life. So this is what they feel. He feels, or rather, both Ashish Kothari and Basuri Taneja, they are laying stress on the fact that we need to strike, there should be a balance between economic development and the conservation of biodiversity. There should be economic development, but at the same time we should check that biodiversity of our land, it is not lost, because that is going to harm not only nature, not only environment, but the lives of thousands of people who are dependent on biodiversity as such. Okay, so he feels that only an educated, awakened public like us, like you and me, who are aware about these problems, who can think out these problems, who can actually raise their voices, who can oppose the loss of biodiversity, who can oppose biopiracy, who can oppose the use of high-tech biotechnology excessively, right? And at last, he, or rather the authors, they give a reference to the Native American chief Seattle. Okay, as the Native American chief Seattle, I suppose it's a place in America, and it has been named after a very famous a wise, one of the wisest Red Indian chiefs. Okay, Seattle, his name was also Seattle. Now Seattle is believed to have said, it is a saying people say, that Seattle had once spoken, when all the eagles and fish are gone and the waters killed by pollution, only then will we realize that money cannot be eaten. A very, very important remark made by American chief Seattle. He had foreseen the future. There was a time when there were tall trees, very, very tall trees. And these tall trees were the perching places, perching spots, nesting places of birds like eagles, massive birds, huge birds. And now see, with the advent of commercialization and rapid industrialization, there has been a growing need for material, for wood, So tall trees, huge trees, they are being chopped down, they are being cut down. As a result, these birds have lost their natural habitat. So they are gone. Their population, it is a great threat to they are on the verge of extinction. Birds like eagles, vultures, they are almost gone. Natural scavengers, these birds are gone. Okay. Secondly, he's talking about fish. When the fish would be gone, when will the fish be gone? You might have noticed the waters of our rivers, our river system, our ponds, that has been totally polluted. How? Because the waste that has been released not only from our human habitat, but also from the industries, and mostly from the industries. The waste, it is released directly into the river system, the water systems, and as a result, what is happening is that fishes, the population of fish, that has decreased to a great level. Okay, and there is a fear that there will be a time that freshwater fish, it won't be found anymore. Okay, so whatever Seattle has spoken hundreds of years ago, it's gradually turning into truth. And the waters killed by pollution, that I have already mentioned. You have lot of water around you, but then fresh drinking water, that is scarce. You won't find fresh drinking water so easily. We are lucky that we are born in Dibrugarh. We are in Dibrugarh, in a place so beautiful where water is abundant. But you go to some of the places in Assam, lower Assam for example, you won't find proper drinking water. So yes, we must be afraid. We must be warned that there will be a time when there will be no birds, there will be no fish, there will be no drinking water. So, it is a request from the environmentalists, from these authors, that there is still time. We are losing the nuts of the ship one by one. It's true. Okay? Seattle has told us years ago that this earth, it does not belong to us alone. It's for we belong to the earth. It's not that the earth belongs to us. Okay, he had mentioned somewhere. Now all these things have been mentioned, have been told by wise people. The authors are once again giving us some space to think out how we are destroying nature by our own hands, with our own hands. Just our greed for money, our greed for economic success, that is gradually harming the biodiverse life, which is actually the essence of the planet. If there is diversity, there will be life. Diversity gone, there will be none. As such, the title, The Many and the None. We are living in a time when there is many, but the authors fear there will be a time, not many years, many years later, when there will be none. So, before that happens, we have to awaken ourselves. We have to realize, we have to stop everything that is harming our biodiversity. Remember the poem that I had spoken about last class, For the Want of a Nail. Let us preserve the nuts that hold our ship together. Thank you very much for listening. I suppose you have understood this lesson. In case you have any doubts, you can contact me. Feel free to contact. And I want you all to seriously ponder over this issue, the many and the none. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.